In telecommunications, data transfer rate is the average number of bits, characters or symbols, or blocks per unit time passing between equipment in a data transmission system. Most commonly, measurements of data transfer rate are reported in multiples of unit bits per second or occasionally in bytes per second. The data rates of modern residential high-speed internet connections are most commonly expressed in multiples of bits per second, such as megabits per second or kilobits per second. Standards for unit symbols and prefixes. See also bitrate for the differences between gross bitrate and net bitrate and between throughput and goodput. Unit symbol. The ISQ symbols for the bit and byte are bit and B, respectively. In the context of data rate units, 1 byte consists of 8 bits, and is synonymous with the unit octet. The abbreviation BPS is often used to mean bit per second, so that when a 1 megabit per second connection is advertised, it usually means that the maximum achievable bandwidth is 1 mbit per second, which is 0.125 megabytes per second, or about. The Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers uses the symbol B for bit prefix in both the SI and ISQ. The prefix K stands for kilo, meaning 1000, while Ki is the symbol for the binary prefix KB, meaning 1024. The binary prefixes were introduced in 1998 by the International Electrotechnical Commission and in IEEE 1541-2002, which was reaffirmed on 27 March 2008. The letter K is often used as a non-standard abbreviation for 1024, especially in KB, to mean kib, the kilobyte in its binary sense. Variations. In 1999, the IEC published Amendment 2 to IEC 60027-2, letter symbols to be used in electrical technology, Part 2. Telecommunications and Electronics. This standard, approved in 1998, introduced the prefixes kibi, mebi, jiba, tebi, pebi, and exbi to be used in specifying binary multiples of a quantity. The name is derived from the first 2 letters of the original SI prefixes followed by bi. It also clarifies that the SI prefixes be used only to mean powers of 10 and never powers of 2. Decimal multiples of bits. These units are often used in a manner inconsistent with the IEC standard. See above section titled Variations. Kilobit per second. Kilobit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1000 bits per second, 125 bytes per second. Megabit per second. Megabit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1 million bits per second, 1000 kilobits per second, 125,000 bytes per second, 125 kilobytes per second. Gigabit per second. Gigabit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1000 megabits per second, 1 million kilobits per second, 1 billion bits per second, 125 million bytes per second. Terabit per second. Terabit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1000 gigabits per second, 1 million megabits per second, 1 billion kilobits per second, 1 trillion bits per second, 125 billion bytes per second. Binary multiples of bits. The prefix name for binary prefixes is not capitalized, but the prefix symbol is kibibit per second. The kibibit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1024 bits per second. Mebibit per second. The mebibit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,048,576 bits per second. 1024 kibibits per second. GB beat per second. The GB beat per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,073,741,824 bits per second. 1,048,576 kibibits per second. 1,024 megabits per second. Terabit per second. The terabit per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,099,511,627,776 bits per second. 1,073,741,824 kbps per second. 1,048,576 mbps per second. 1,024 gigabits per second. Decimal multiples of bytes. These units are often not used in the suggested ways. See above section titled Variations. Kilobyte per second. Kilobyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 8,000 bits per second. 1,000 bytes per second. 8 kilobits per second. Megabyte per second. Megabyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 8 million bits per second. 1 million bytes per second. 1,000 kilobytes per second. 8 megabits per second. Gigabyte per second. Gigabyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 8 billion bits per second. 1 billion bytes per second. 1 million kilobytes per second. 1,000 megabytes per second. 8 gigabits per second. Terabyte per second. Terabyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 8 trillion bits per second. 1 trillion bytes per second. 1 billion kilobytes per second. 1 million megabytes per second. 1,000 gigabytes per second. 8 terabits per second. Binary multiples of bytes. Kibibyte per second. The kibibyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,024 bytes per second. 8 kibits per second. 8,192 bits per second. Mebibyte per second. The mebibyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,048,576 bytes per second. 1,024 kibibytes per second. 8 megabits per second. 8,192 kbps per second. 8,388,608 bits per second. Gigabyte per second. The gigabyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,073,741,824 bytes per second. 1,048,576 kibibytes per second. 1,024 mebibytes per second. 8 gigabits per second. 8,192 megabits per second. 8,388,608 kbps per second. 8,589,934,592 bits per second. Tebibyte per second. The tebibyte per second is a unit of data transfer rate equal to 1,099,511,627,776 bytes per second. 1,073,741,824 kibibytes per second. 1,048,576 mebibytes per second. 1,024 gigabytes per second. 8 terabits per second. 8,192 gigabits per second. 8,388,608 megabits per second. 8,589,934,592 kbps per second. 8,796,093,022,208 bits per second. Conversion table. Examples of bit rates.